All right, so we've talked about the drum microphones. Let's go ahead and listen to the two bass channels. Now, one of the things that we haven't shown you yet is that we're using a 8x10 cabinet for the bass guitar, and bass is a little different. You know, putting that guitar cabinet right next to the overheads, that seems to work for me. What I don't like doing, because of the way that sub frequencies and low end frequencies are, I really hate having a live bass cabinet in the room. But for this song, we wanted to get sort of a dirtier bass, and there's no better thing to use to get a dirty bass than a tube amp. So we've got two different channels going on. The bass is going into an Avalon U5 direct box, and what's really cool about the Avalon is you've got both a mic level output and a line level output. So I can plug the bass in directly, and since I'm using the line level output, I can patch it straight into Pro Tools, come straight in, or I can also go into some external, some outboard processor, add some compression to the bass, and then go into Pro Tools. I never have to hit a mic pre. So that's one of the things that's great about that Avalon direct box, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Coming from the Avalon, not using any of the tone processing on it, just going straight into the Avalon and coming out into this Empirical Labs Fatso. The compression mode is set to tracking compressor, which is a more gentle setting, but we're adding a bunch of warmth. The warmth knob is set on 4, and the tranny knob is engaged, so we've got the added warmth and kind of vibe from the transformer being inserted into the circuit. We're only getting about 2, maybe 3 dB at the most of gain reduction on this bass DI, and it sounds like this. So still pretty dynamic, even though there's some compression and some warmth being added there. Then the real money is in the bass amp, I think. We'll go ahead and listen to that. Let me turn this DI back down. The bass amp is a Tyler flip top. So it's a tube amp. It's sort of emulating the old Ampeg B15 tube amps, and we're running that into this Ampeg 8x10 cab, and we're capturing it with an Audio-Technica 4047. I sort of went out there, I had Joey just playing, and I moved my head around and I was listening to what the amplifier sounded like, and rather than just miking one speaker or the other, I thought that it had the most like low end, putting my ear kind of between 2 of the speakers. And so that's what I did with a microphone. I sort of split the difference between 2 of the speakers, and I moved it back from the cab, kind of thinking that, oh, I want to give it just a hair of time instead of putting it right up against the speaker. Give it just a little bit of time for that bass, that low end waveform to kind of develop before it hits the microphone. So I pulled it back about 6-8 inches, and then I'm running it from the 4047 into sort of another stage of tube gain and running it into the Summit TPA 200B mic pre, and I'm setting the mic pre up so that I'm getting just a little bit of distortion on the mic pre as well. It's not hitting it every time, the light's not staying solid yellow, and it's never going into the red, but he hits certain things kind of hard, and it hits that yellow light and gets a little bit extra distortion. Then the next thing that I'm doing, I love on a live amplifier to have an 1176, and so the bass guitar is then hitting the purple, and the purple is set to 8:1 on the ratio, and I've got the attack set at just a little slower than 3, and I've got the release set just a little faster than what would be 6 on that release knob. So we're getting probably 5 to 7 dB of gain reduction on the bass amp. It's really getting smashed. Some of the notes he's playing is coming in even harder, but there's a significant amount of distortion from both the amp and the mic pre, and then it's hitting that compressor, and so this bass sound ends up being like just really fat and distorted, and then you get some of that dynamic back from adding the DI back in. So this is what that sounds like. The last thing worth noting is that when we were bringing the bass signals into Pro Tools, I wanted to make sure that I was getting the most low end possible. There's always going to be some sort of phase inconsistency between a DI and a mic signal. The DI is just going to get to Pro Tools so much faster because it's not going through anything. You don't have to wait for the waveform from the cabinet to reach the microphone. It's always going to get there first. And so I had to play around with the phase, flip the polarity switch on the mic pre to figure out which one had more low end. The compromise is that it seems like with flipping that polarity, and here's what I'll do, is I'll just put a plug-in on here real quick so I can flip it for you. It seems like that with the phase flipped that we get a little more mid-range out of both mics together, but with it flipped the opposite direction the way that we're tracking it, it seems like that we get a better low end. And so I chose to go for that and let it be just a little bit scooped from it being slightly out of phase. So here's what they sound like flipped. So it's definitely deeper the way that we're tracking it, but if you wanted a mid-ear sounding bass, you may want to actually have it be a little bit out of phase. Now, probably what I'll end up doing is when I go to mix this, I'll use auto align to make sure that they are both as good as they can be and as close to in phase as possible. But for tracking it, I think that this sounds better to have the polarity flipped on the mic pre that's on the bass cab.
So to let you know what I have you set up with, I just want to go over it real fast. So basically what I do is, like before, I run, this is your SVT going to a big SVT 410.
Yeah.
And this is for all the weight, like the bottom indie stuff, so I'm not worried about the high end stuff. Then I'm also running you through this, which is going through another amp peg. It's a smaller amp peg.
Okay.
But this is to get the definition, like a little bit of grind, a little bit of like brightness, so you hear that, like you actually hear the bass as opposed to just feeling the bass.
Correct, yeah, it's cutting in through the mids, so we're good.
Yeah, it cuts the mids. And then I also run a DI, but the DI is, I'm not as concerned. That will be exactly what this bass sounds like.
Okay.
But I think the key core tone will end up being these two right here. Cool. And that's kind of what I was blending it right there, and I was adjusting the compressors over there to kind of give you a decent level.
I like it. That's good.
Want to roll from the top?
Let's roll from the top.
Okay, you're tuning. You've checked it lately?
I'm tuned. Good to go.
All right, so let's recap the bass really fast too. The initial stage was I take the bass, I plug it into the cable, I route it to a DI down here. The DI routes over to a compressor. It routes over to a distressor. All actually my channels for bass go to their own distressor. So I took the SVT, and this was the deeper sub-ear frequencies. On there it says bass Ampeg. And then this down here, it would say bass, it probably says bass Lemmy is usually what it is, or bass Lem. So this we utilize for more high end. So more like a DI sound, but through an amp. This is also where we were struggling when we were using the first bass, where there was like a buzz on there. So it was a high-end buzz. So anytime I would use this to try to crank up the treble, it was just getting super annoying. And that's why we're not using that bass for this project. And this is a really cool amp. So it's a solid-state Bassman. I believe it's from the late 60s. Similar to these, but these are tube Bassmen. The cool thing about this, it's a cleaner tone. It doesn't have like the tube grit to it. So for the reggae song like this, I don't need it to have too much bite. I just need to have like a good like round quality to it. I did actually add one thing on top of this. I use this thing called a BB Sonic Maximizer. I love this box. And basically what it does is it's like a little gain level. So I can push this amp a little bit harder without just turning it up louder. This box is almost like a compressor. So the higher you put that gain, the more it makes noises get louder and louder. So you just have to be careful with that. But it's a fun little trick to put in front of here. The other reason is too, is it has an EQ. So this is a low EQ. So I can adjust that to pre-EQ before I hit that amplifier. So that's how we got the bass tone. And like I said, if we go over here, we look at the distressors, and you can see I was using bass DI, bass amp. It says bass Lem. So that's the third one. For bass, I want to hit it a decent amount. It's going at least halfway up the scale, which is getting to the orange lights often. I only use a 4-to-1 ratio. So even if it hits a little bit harder, it's not sucking all the life out of it. So these distressors, they're great because you can slam them pretty hard. A compressor like this, if you hit it too hard, which is a 160X, it suffocates the sound and it makes it cheap. It makes it sound like a cheap in-the-box plug-in. But this keeps it smooth, almost like a tube compressor. So that's what we're using for bass. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Santa, I saw you standing there
Yeah, let's start. Maybe we just kind of dig into like what we're thinking. Like I was able to stick a Sans amp on here and get it pretty close to kind of what I was thinking. But when you take that off, it's got a lot more nasally front end. You know, it's a little bit more nasally and mid-rangey on the upper end of the mid-range than we would like. So we're thinking maybe something a little bit less attack and a little more thuddy. So what are you thinking?
Like, let's do the P bass with rounds first, just with my fingers instead of a pick.
Yeah.
I'd say let's just audition it in the track.
Yeah.
Again, the song we wrote is called Day Drunk in Reno. Let's play a verse and a chorus for them just to hear what we've got so far.
Sure. That starts on the chorus, so we'll just start there.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm trying to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my heart left in the dealer's arms. And I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm dead drunk in Reno. You always love a game with.
It's without the bass, of course, because I just took that out.
I have my Nashville number system chart here that I'll be reading down. Let's just do the chorus and the first verse and just see if this is even going to work in it.
Yeah, sounds good. Here we go. Bring your volume up a bit.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm trying to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my heart left in the dealer's arms. And I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm dead drunk in Reno. You always love a game when you're winning, but you never get enough if your heart's not in it. Some things you let it ride, and she was no different. Oh, she burned.
I don't know.
Try that doing what we did before, cycling the fifths here, and then take out the in-between notes. Because we have the acoustic kind of filling that, and
Yeah.
I don't want it to flam too much. So let's try that from the top, and just play it dumb.
Do the cycling fifths.
Cycle fifths in the chorus, and then just like you were, just without the. See how that how it fits in there.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm trying to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my heart left in the dealer's arms. And I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm dead drunk in Reno. You always love a game when you're winning, but you never get enough if your heart's not in it. Some things you let it ride, and she was no different. Oh, she burned like whiskey on my lips, and I can still taste the sweetness of that kiss. It's a fire I'll always miss, 'cause she's gone. And I'm dead drunk and real.
What are you thinking sound-wise?
I think we need a little bit. We still need more of that mid-range. Is your tone knob up?
Huh? Yeah, a little bit. Not all the way.
Let's try it with a little more tone knob, and maybe not that much. That's pretty modern.
Yeah.
Roll it off just a little bit. Yeah, that feels good. Let's try that real quick, and then if that's not working out, we'll try
Grab
maybe
another one.
the Univox or something.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm trying to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my heart left in the dealer's arms. And I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm dead drunk in Reno. You always love a game when you're winning, but you never get enough if your heart's not in it. Some things you let it ride, and she was no different. Oh, she burned like wit.
I don't know. Let's try another one.
It does still have upper mid-range, but it's got a different character to it.
Then the low is a
Yeah.
lot, almost too much subbier.
Is that
Come
your
down
gain
here,
there?
yeah.
Yeah, give me a little. Hit it hard, real hard. Bring it back up there, and I'll bring it down here.
You want to go ahead and run through the chain?
Yeah, for this song, a lot of the times I will do a split DI. I've got a Leela P split, and so go in and go to one DI or to an amp downstairs or two DIs. This one, we're just doing the one signal chain, the Evil Twin to the 273 into Pro Tools, just because it doesn't really need an amp sound. Like, I think whatever we're going to end up with and what Ryan's going to add later in like post and mixing it, it's going to be just fine for this type of song.
Yeah.
It's not what we do all the time, but for this one, that's what we're doing. And I have a pedal board down here with a whole bunch of cool stuff on it. I'm using none of it except the tuner.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. Tried to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my heart left in the dealer's arms. And I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm dead drunk in Reno. You always love a game when you're winning, but you never get enough if your heart's not in it. Some things you let it ride, and she was no different.
Pretty good. Outside of when you're hitting on the twos
In
and
the-
fours, yeah, we're getting
Hitting the pole
that.
piece a little bit.
But I think,
Dead drunk.
Just for shits and giggles, let's try this bass with a pick.
all right, go.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. Tried to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my heart left in the dealer's arms. And I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm dead drunk in Reno. You always love a game when you're winning, but you never get enough if your heart's not in it. Some things you let it ride, and she was no different. Oh, she burned like whiskey on my lips, and I can still taste.
That's pretty good. It's got a neat thing going on.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
kinda
digging
listen
this
back.
with the pick. It's a
Yeah.
the tuning's a little wonky, but I don't think it's that bad.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. Tried to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my heart left in the dealer's arms. And
That's nice.
I'm dead drunk in Reno.
I don't like that as much.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. Tried to let it all go.
That's not bad with the P bass. And then here's back to the original jazz bass.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. Tried to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my
The jazz bass and this with the pick are pretty similar.
dead drunk in Reno.
I like the lows on that better though.
'Cause the queen of my
I just let's do it with this one then, and
With the pick,
but take out all those
yeah.
click notes. Yeah, and especially in the verse, I think it'll be cleaner if we just play it boom, 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 and let everything else shine through it.
I'm dead drunk in Reno. Tried to let it all go. 'Cause the queen of my heart left in the dealer's arms. And I'm dead drunk in Reno. I'm dead drunk in Reno. You always love a game when you're winning, but you never get enough if your heart's not in it. Some things you let it ride, and she was no different. Oh, she burned like whiskey on my lips, and I can still taste the sweetness of that kiss. It's a fire I'll always miss, 'cause she's gone. And I'm
Cool. There it is. That sounds much more, at least to my ears, a little more appropriate.
Where it sits with the kick too
Yeah,
is cool.
and the original here is a little louder.
Yeah.
And the bass on that is just more focused too. So there's that.